Okay, so, hey guys, so there's this thou art that dude who I've known for years, Matt, and that it's messed up, right? I mean, it's messed up because he's got something on here called media ecology, the new media ecology, right? So anyway, I clicked on the video, I got that far in, see that? See that little that far right there? I got that far in. And then for whatever reason, I thought, hey, he's got it as a trialog, make it a quadalog, right? Drop my log onto their logs, like a little squirt, a little poop machine, and see what I have to say, just randomly. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to say. All I know is Matt was like in agreement. He once did a response video to me when he thought that I might be cool or whatever that is, and then Professor Anton, the other academic professor that was floating around here. They had an exchange, and Anton, he was into media ecology. So I thought, okay, let's see what Matt has to say now. Unfortunately, my microphone is very, very low, and I don't know how long I'm going to go on this. Maybe a little while, maybe not. I don't know. I'm speeding it up a tad. Let's see if we can hear him. And then I'll stop in for my commentary. Here we go.
All right, gentlemen, we're back after a 4-month hiatus. We recorded a podcast on the Jordan Peterson moment, and 2.5 months later, Jesse and I were on Rebel Wisdom's YouTube channel, did a couple interviews with them, and we felt like there were some threads we wanted to continue developing. And last night, I threw up a quick YouTube video and just asked my viewers what they would like us to talk about, and I was encouraged that in the span of like 12 hours, I got 35 or so comments saying, "Would love to hear you guys talk about this and that." So I've got a list here. I was a little worried that this subject had been talked about endlessly on dozens and dozens of different podcasts, but it's apparently still alive, and for whatever reason, people want to listen to us talk about it. So one thing that I've noticed, I think we've all noticed actually, is that looking at our original podcast back in May, the quality of the comments, the kind of political orientation and perspective that commenters were coming from on our original podcast is quite different from where people were coming from in the comments under the Rebel Wisdom interview of Jesse and I. I don't think it was just all right-wing people or more conservative people on the Rebel Wisdom podcast. It was kind of half and half, I thought, actually. But I guess on my YouTube channel, it seems, more like friendly territory, though there were a few people who were pushing back a bit. But there's this whole new media ecology that we are existing within, and it's really blowing things open so that we can sit here and record this conversation about what we believe is going on in our present moment without it being filtered or mediated by any executives on the 40th floor who are beholden to advertisers or whatever. I mean, one day maybe the IPAs we're drinking, the beer companies will throw us a few bucks for
All right. Well, for out of the gate, two things, right? One, this whole like, oh my God, look, we're in this environment, right? Like, it's really impressive that we can sit here and actually record ourselves. That whole like post Joe Rogan jack off session over the fact that we have this technology and that it's not interrupted by like advertisements, as if Matt would be called on the news. That would have advertisement on TV or something, and that he's just absolutely amazed that it's the case and that they have an IPA. And when I did get this far before, I thought, well, hey, I got a beer in the fridge and I'm knocked 2 down already. Might as well play it. And the second thing is, notice down at the bottom, down here, the intellectual dark web, right? He's already noting who's on the right, who's on the left, so he's already got this binary thing and this defensive thing, and he's bringing up media ecology, which he believes, like, hey, we're in this, and then he says, and so many people want us to speak on this. Granted, he's got 9,000 subscribers now. He's always recording stuff from his university. He's not doing too bad, and this was put out today, and he's got 55 views already. That's substantial, probably more than I'm going to get on this wacko video.
While we talk, but right now we're not beholden to anyone else but each other and in our own, commitments as philosophers, as citizens. So here we are again. I'm always delighted to talk to you guys, and I think in the context of our present moment, I think it's important that friends gather around the table and voice their perspectives so that we can begin to make sense of a dramatically transformed world. And that transformation is ongoing, and if we can't talk to one another across our differences, how are we going to create a society that we all want to live in?
Well, oddly enough, so the point is that Matt, he used to talk to me. One time I even drove out to California, and I tried to contact him, like, hey man, I'm in California, I'm close to Berkeley, we had to meet up. Nothing, dead silence, crickets. Tried to message him a couple more times, nothing. Here he is saying, like, well, we really need to discuss this to get over our differences, but here it is. I'm already assuming he's jacking off with people that he, for the most part, agrees with, talking about his differences. Not to say that there's not always differences. There's always differences. But, okay, anyway. Here I go, starting off a little bit asshole-y. A little bit. Oh.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting reading some of the comments from the first podcast we did together, 4 months ago, and then the one we did with Rebel Wisdom. Just noticing, it was funny to me because obviously we broached a whole bunch of different topics in our last podcast here, and it was interesting because I would notice some trends of like some folks on the left would be critiquing us and challenging us that we're sounding right because we're moving perhaps more to the center in certain ways or questioning some of the tenets and ideological stances on the left. So we'd be getting flack from the left, kind of accusing us of being, not quite allies on that sense, not pure enough. And then, especially more on the Rebel Wisdom commentary, in my sense, there were lots of people on the right calling us out as just classic leftists, classic social justice warrior types. I would get that. We're hopeless. Maybe we can assume we're doing something right if we're getting attacked from both sides. I thought that was interesting, though.
What I don't really understand is why anything any of us had said was controversial at all. I don't understand the framing of why these topics they reach such a shrill pitch so fast. And I don't know if that's just an artifact of social media and different types of mediated conversations, or if it's just an extreme sort of ideological framing polarization that's taking place on both sides. But I listened to that first podcast that we did, and
I don't know who these other dudes are, to be honest. And they talked about moving to the center, and it is interesting how politics do this. But this guy's saying, like, hey, I don't understand, like, this shrill, right? This how did things get to this fever pitch between these binary? And once again, it's like, God, why is everything framed in a binary? I hate this. And obviously, it gets to a pitch because anyone can say fucking jack off whatever they want to get you to that pitch. I mean, I don't know why this guy's... I don't know. These guys are young, probably 20s intellectuals. They have very little under their belt. Matt just got his PhD not too long ago, so he's feeling all high and mighty and trying to keep things kosher and afloat because, he's got to maintain that status and that thing. But you're
didn't feel too strongly one way or the other about it. Thought it was pretty reasonable, and then listened to the one that you guys did with Rebel Wisdom and followed a little bit of the conversations you guys were having on social media about it, and just couldn't really see the risk in the dialogue. Like it didn't seem worth it in that sense. It seemed like it was like a good conversation to have between friends, and then if other people are resonating with that, they can listen to it. But the extreme response doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I almost feel like over the course of the last 4 months, like when we posted our original podcast, the Jordan Peterson moment was really at a fever pitch, and
I think we're post-peak.
We're post-peak. I almost feel like we're plateaued, and we're waiting for something to punch through to the next level. It only takes 4 months now for what, back in May was just blowing people's minds. Everyone was super excited to now become kind of boring and passé.
But isn't that part of the dynamic, right? Is that the media outlets are sensationalizing sort of what's actually much more mundane than what they're reporting, and creates like a flurry of attention and clicks,
right,
and think pieces and blah blah blah, and then there's this sort of moral panic over what, I don't know, and then but it exhausts itself too fast, and so like that machine, the outrage machine, needs to go and look for something else very quickly because it's already exhausted its clicks on that topic.
Yeah, well, Elon Musk smoked pot the other day on the road, and that was a big deal. So I'm glad there was a lot of coverage of that. But there does seem to be a sense of, with the 24-hour news cycle, compounded by the social media commentary sphere, it's like we're in this desperate search for novelty literally every 2 minutes.
Right.
Like, as fast as your Twitter feed can refresh, you need some new breaking news that's going to change everything forever. And that plays out across multiple areas in terms of coverage of Trump. It's like, how do you top the last outrageous thing that he said or did?
Well, he'll do it for you if you just log on to his Twitter account. He'll give you something new in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing. I don't know. People keep saying that attention spans are going down and getting shorter and shorter, and I'm not convinced that that's really true. I think it is true in the sense that if you're using certain kinds of media and certain kinds of platforms, that they condition you and force you into a certain kind of engagement ratio. But as we were just saying, there's also this explosion of long-form media that's much slower, more nuanced, more complex than in Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. So both are happening at the same time. And it seems like if you give people a media space where their attention span can actually kind of occupy the appropriate amount of time and space, it will. And people don't seem to have a problem doing that.
You're right. So there's a lot that we can talk about, and I want to maybe push us in this one direction. Thinking about this long-form podcast-style political social discussion in relation to a New York Times article that was published, I believe today, by Andrew Sorkin. It was on the front page. It was titled "How the Financial Crisis Provoked the Populist Surge." And Sorkin, he's written books on the financial crisis. He's a reporter, journalist that covers Wall Street. He says, it is hardly a stretch to suggest that President Trump's election was a direct result of the financial crisis. The crisis was a moment that cleaved our country. It broke a social contract between the plutocrats and everyone else, but it also broke a sense of trust, not just in financial institutions and the government that oversaw them, but in the very idea of experts and expertise. And then he says, the past 10 years have seen an open revolt against the intelligentsia. And what you were just describing, Adam, is the sense in which actually there hasn't been a revolt against the intelligentsia. There's been a revolt against a very specific form of technocratic governance, I would say, and this attitude of experts in government, often unelected, who talk down to average people and pretend to know what's best and try to manipulate the entire economy based on their, Ivy League understanding of how economics is supposed to work. And in terms of people's intelligence, I think we're seeing every day with the intellectual dark web and just the proliferation of these niches online of profoundly deep thinking.
Well, that was a part of, I don't want to talk about Peterson very much, but that was a through line of the Peterson moment, which was, he's been on tour, going through city by city, packing 3,000 person auditoriums just to talk about ideas. And I read an article recently that not many intellectuals can do that. It's really hard to tour as an author, let alone as someone who's trying to bring back conversations. And
also, that's an interesting thing to talk about in itself, is that because it's true, most even very famous university professors and academics, sort of the stars in their field, can't do that. They can hardly do that at a keynote at a conference that specializes in their own area. So what's going on there? Why are these people in the limelight? I think the critics are very quick to say that this is just, an expression of, the worst in society, and that there's so much of this negativity and bad thinking going on that it resonates with a guy like Peterson because, people have shitty ideas and he sells shitty ideas, so they eat it up. But it's not really like that, right? And I wouldn't put him against the people that he draws on. Like, Jordan Peterson isn't a Carl Jung level thinker, he just isn't. But he's hitting a nerve somewhere. And so what are you comparing him to? Are you comparing him to what you saw on Anderson Cooper last night, or what you saw on Oprah last week, or on what you saw, in any of the, major shows over the past 20, 30 years of your life? It's clearly a step up.
it's clearly, and you have, Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris just had a 4-part conversation in Vancouver, and I think in Ireland and England, and you had packed auditoriums, 3,000 people, rooting and clapping and applauding the way they would in the sports arena. And it was really amazing to watch this nuanced and deep conversation about science versus religion or mythology or psychology, and to watch them on stage grappling with each other is something that I think in our modern culture we're missing. We've lost that. And it does feel like it hasn't gone away. It's just something's changing, something's shifting.
Well, it's like even the staging of those conversations is there's the debate format on television is so bad. You get 5-10 minutes, and you get these kind of mediators, moderators who kind of give you these like just very flat, polarizing, and simple questions, and then you have 5 minutes to give your point, and then the other person has 30 seconds to respond, and then you move forward. Like, that's not a conversation,
Right. And like Noam Chomsky's been talking about this for decades, the way that on the major media outlets there will be a certain range of acceptable debate, and you get a few minutes to play out the two acceptable poles of a narrow range,
Right.
and really the debate isn't between those two perspectives.
Right.
It's between this other perspective way over here that nobody's ever allowed any airtime to talk about.
Right.
And with social media and the proliferation of podcasts, you can talk about those alternative perspectives for 3-4 hours,
Right.
and that's great. But it also opens the door to all sorts of conspiracies, so-called, and
conspiracies as far as.
as far as what's really going on.
Oh, you mean just because now we're awash in
There's no filter
on the
there's
media.
no curation that says this is legitimate and this isn't. It's
Everything's
free-for-all.
decentralized.
Everything's decentralized.
And the internet and social media, I mean, I think we're still just, as you guys talk about a new media landscape, I think we're very much in the moment of trying to understand what the impact of the media as a technology is having on us as humans, how we think, our sense-making capacities. And I think it's, this is connected to a number of themes we've talked about, but I also started listening to Sam Harris's podcast with Jonathan Haidt, and you mentioned earlier kind of like the word outrage culture, and so it's interesting because as there's more long-term format conversations happening, I think that's such an antidote.
Okay, so there's more long form, right? Okay, so it's not like Joe Rogan hasn't said that, right? Like, hey, we it's just amazing that we can do this, and it's amazing that it's long form, and it's really, like it's affecting us, man, and like, how is it affecting us, man? And maybe I need to double time this. By the way, I really don't like how evenly spaced their art is on their wall. Just saying, it looks like they measured the spacing, and look how Matt, being the smaller guy, has the smaller beer. Just saying. I want to make sense of that.
To what's happening because the short minute here, minute there, and the panels on TV leads to such immediate snapshot reactivity.
Right.
That long form conversations allow there to be nuance, and it's almost like you can't miss that these are human beings with complex ideas. And I just think it's interesting how that's.
Well, even if you don't think the ideas are complex, it's drawing even the detractors of these larger waves and these larger movements. How are they engaging with these figures? How are the critics of the Jordan Petersons and the Sam Harrises of the world? How are they engaging? They're starting podcasts. They're engaging on that turf, and that's what's important to me. Is that you have this model now, or this mold of what's possible to do. So whether or not you agree with it or
What's
not, what I can tell you is that
possible?
you're going to pursue your own interests.
You
your
could
criticism
watch
of
a
these people's
marathon,
interests,
a Little
or
House
their
on the
views
Prairie,
in the
if
same
you wanted
format and
to,
medium
way
they
back
are
in the
operating in.
day. It's
And that
nothing.
tells you something, that you're not going off. You're not going on CNN to counter what's happening on YouTube and Twitter and on these tours. Jordan Peterson going on a tour and just selling out these bigger arenas every night. Like
Well, look,
okay, if you
fucking
don't like what he's
YouTube
doing,
used
get
to
out
have
there and do something.
10-minute
And that's
limits.
kind of the call for me, and that's what I
Right,
think is
now,
interesting.
now you can
Way
record
more
someone
people than
sleeping
ever before
for
have
8
the opportunity
hours
to
and
do
get
that.
And that's the
Andy
move that Jordan
Warhol's
Greenwald's
dream
talking
come
about, which
true.
is everyone's always talking about blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, and it's decentralizing. So you used to have the media landscape of these legacy media, these huge corporations that run television and very limited number. And now with YouTube, with these long form podcasts, it's decentralized.
Okay,
And a lot
so
of
I'm
people
going
are
to
filling the gap, like you
double
said, for better
time
or
this
worse,
because I
right?
think, like,
So
wow,
what
these guys are
the
jocking each other off at an hour and 30 minutes talking
is
about
just their
the
misinformed way
long
of describing
form
what's actually
format.
the decentralized proliferation of intelligence on social media that can't be controlled and filtered in the way that it used to be by an outlet like the New York Times. So when we talk about populism, that term connotes stupidity, ignorance, and just sort of an emotional reaction to the elites in power.
I don't think we should deceive ourselves about the fact that there is going to be, and there is a lot of ignorance and stupidity and uninformed people who now also have a megaphone.
Right.
And to me, there is something important about a gatekeeper, about a lineage holder, about somebody who's gone through the process of actually becoming an expert in something. But the fact is that we're not operating in that mode anymore. So we need different means of evaluating who we're going to listen to and why, because the old system doesn't exist anymore.
It's collapsed.
It's collapsed. And I think one way to think about it is like this: is that we used to have sort of these elite gatekeepers. Think of them like athletes, people, Olympians who could do great feats, and meanwhile everybody else is sitting by watching. Now we have way more people able to participate in the sport, able to run the track, able to do these things, able to train for themselves. Are they going to be as good as the best in the world? No, of course not. Most of them aren't. But the point is that more people are running on the track, more people are able to participate, and I think that's probably better.
Are they going to be better than the people that are the best? Probably not, he says. But more people are participating, so that's good.
For the overall health of a society, even if most of them aren't going to be sort of great contributors to history or whatever.
You do have it's interesting. You say like the old form is dead. I don't know. There's still a lot of people operating in that. There's people still dying. That's true. And one could argue that Trump winning, a lot of people on the left just couldn't. I was one of them.
Look how bored Matt looks.
Someone like Donald Trump could even become the Republican primary, contender. I mean, it is crazy. And even if you're a Trump supporter,
It's crazy.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, that is true. But I mean, in terms of the moment we're in,
Trump
we all talked about, like, if you're still operating from that old system, you use this analogy as a metaphor of, like, it's like the stock exchange on the floor of the stock exchange back in the day. People just screaming and yelling over each other. It looks like mass schizophrenia. The disjointed, decentralized world of the media landscape on the internet, and there are no gatekeepers. There are no, what was the other word you used? Like mentor elders, professionals, and we're all trying to figure it out. And that's what also leads to mass conspiracy theories, and everyone's filling in these gaps. We don't know what's going to happen, or what it's going to look like.
I feel like there's a new ecosystem, meaning a new organism which has emerged, and human beings now exist as organelles inside of it, and an immune system hasn't yet arisen to help us distinguish friend from foe, to put it crudely, to help us distinguish truth from falsehood, to help us understand which narratives are serving our collective health and which are not.
Okay, so here once again, Matt wants to try to sound really highbrow and high-minded, like, hey, look, we're in this media ecology, and I'm really not trying to defame Matt. I kind of like what he's doing, but the way he's trying to position himself even in this conversation, like, hey, look, we're amongst these other entities in this media ecology, and we're trying to parse out the difference between truth and falsity and what's going to be the best health for the community. Well, even that itself is provincial and regional and instrumental away from a group. But here's Matt attempting to make a doctorial or a doctor, a physician. Here's Matt trying to be the physician about what he believes future health is, and so be it. I mean, Matt's Matt. It's not he's not bad yet.
And I don't know how long this intermediate period of chaos is going to last, but most of the last several years have seemed to be have maintained a sense of chaotic uncertainty,
Right.
And that can't last. My understanding of complex systems gives me the faith that some new regime of order will solidify. It might be more flexible than the order that we're used to in the past, but we're moving towards something, and we can't quite see what it is yet.
But it might not be the kind of centralized order that we were used to,
Right.
And so it's like a kind of
He believes it's going to
it's a more pluralistic
solidify.
order, some kind of metastable order where
I hope so, unless China takes over the world.
See, I
the whole
like
thing
that,
doesn't- the whole
metastable.
thing isn't necessarily going to the whole thing being like the whole nation or the whole Western world or the whole whatever boundary you want to draw around however far our culture goes.
Yeah.
It might not recohere around something so fixed and unified and controlled.
Unless it does.
But what would that be?
That would be China becoming the new
is it?
superpower and basically using the old Western model of colonizing as much of the rest of the world as they can and forcing us all to, what the equivalent of our credit score would become our access or means of leverage for participating in society. The sorts of things that they're doing with biometrics and social rankings of people and mass surveillance. It's happening in the States too, but I feel like there are two paths forward. One enhances and increases the freedom and mobility of human beings, and one uses technologies to further entrench power structures and empower centralized governments to control us. The technology itself seems to be neutral in respect to which direction we go. It's an open question for me. I don't think it's inevitable that we will move in the direction of decentralized.
No, I don't think any of this is inevitable. I think it's all very up for grabs. But it's interesting to think about the conversations that have come up around Twitter especially, how Twitter is going to reorganize the algorithms that kind of allocate the things that come into your feed and how it tells you to track news stories and people to follow and not to follow.
I've been noticing weird shit.
It's strange, right? And they're obviously experimenting with things, and I think they're obviously kind of in a defensive position because the media can be used for so many different purposes. And like you were saying, you can get whole populations organized around conspiracies that may or may not be true. And I'm not saying they're true or they're not true. I'm just saying that just the perception organizes people. And so in that sense, we went through a little blip of kind of pre-decentralization, and now it seems like the major social media companies are trying to re-centralize or make social media more like cable TV or something.
Well, they're trying to create that immune system I was talking about, but you can't do that.
Just so it's clear, Twitter, I don't think it's
With
necessary.
the old MTV or the new MTV. I mean, the idea, okay, a technocratic control, the corporations, the government, the connection between the corporations and the government, who's allowed, what's not allowed, this idea of solidification, I like the idea of meta-solidification, but let's listen to these clowns go on, they're half hour in almost.
Necessarily sinister.
Well, it doesn't have to be. I just don't think that one guy or
I love
one
clowns.
group of the task force in Twitter can figure out the best way to do this. It's got to emerge naturally, for lack of a better word. It can't be something imposed from the top because the people at the top are biased. Human beings are inevitably biased. How do we facilitate a truly decentralized system where the most attractive ideas rise to the top? And
And if everything is, if this media is, if we are extending.
Now, how do we do this where the most attractive ideas rise to the top? Are you worried about your subs? I've been on here longer than you, Matt, and I've got many fewer subs than you do. I'm not rising to the top, and yet my content is superb. It's amazing.
Of us, our media, if that's so integrated into who we are as beings now, whoever is in control of writing these algorithms and in some form of control of what's showing up on our feeds has tremendous control. And, the question that comes up for me is like in this, at least this moment now where things are decentralized and are fragmented, how do we know what's true? What happens to truth? Like you were saying earlier, Assad and stuff is kicking back up in Syria, and it's like, how do we know what the real story is now?
Yeah, but that's not a new state of affairs.
Right. I mean, think about Vietnam and Gulf of Tonkin or Pearl Harbor, to
So then what's shifted?
what we call conspiracy theory can become just the dominant narrative.
Right. I think what's shifted is that there's always been uncertainty about whether or not does this narrative sort of track a political state of affairs, or what is this narrative serving, what bias, what ideology, what aim, what purpose, what agenda. That's always been true, and that's always going to be true. But the question now is that we don't even have a unified sort of bad ideology that we can all agree is, even if we think this story might be bullshit, at least we're all getting the same bullshit story. Now we're not even getting the same bullshit story.
And that comes in through the sense of sense
Yeah,
making.
I like that guy.
Sense making is our capacity as humans to take data that's coming in and organizing it into some coherency so that we can make decisions based on the data, decisions in the world, therefore having agency in the world. Right. If that fundamental mechanism of sense making, both individually and collective, is compromised or jeopardized or weakened, that's a big problem.
It's a big problem, but it also just throws the onus back on you. Like you can make that, you can decide how to make that meaning in your life. And in some sense, that's also not a new condition. No, I mean, there's just a new media landscape. But the other point that we should talk about here is that this is only really confusing when you get online. If you stay offline and you just talk to the people around you, and you're not caught up in these very vastly distributed, decentralized networks, I don't think you have a problem knowing how to read a person who's sitting in front of you. Do you have a problem reading how people on the bus are responding to you? Do you have a problem talking to your friends? Are there sense-making problems in any of those contexts? Usually not. Probably not, right? You're pretty good at that because most people are. Some people aren't, but most people are pretty good at that. And so we have to be mindful of how this technology is drawing us out of these local interactions and putting us into a space that I think is an important space, and we need to attend to as well. But don't get lost in it.
So maybe we're talking more of a collective phenomenon, sense making online. I mean, individually we can unplug. I don't do it very often, but we can theoretically detach ourselves and unplug. But collectively, and with more and more people by the day getting online and plugging in, it seems.
But Jesse, you were talking earlier about this disconnect between you and some friends and family, even in regard to the political situation and your tendency, like me and like Adam, to want to criticize the left, even though we identify as the left, because of a failure, and other friends of yours not being willing to even entertain the possibility that.
First off, I gotta say that I think the traditional left is nothing like the modern left, and the intellectual notion of the left is still self-congratulatory to the point that even if Matt identifies with the left or defends whatever the modern notion of what the left is, I think he's way off base in claiming it, right, or stating it from his point of view. There's so many more I want to say more mature, more experienced individuals that have gone through a greater span of time, the premillennial generation, that are very much offline and in dialogue with one another, such that the idea that the concepts that Matt in this university are generating, I'm not saying they're not of the left, I'm just saying that they're not all that. I don't know. I think the thing that disgusts me is A, the binary between left and right itself, B, the identification with it, and then C, the notion that one has a grip on it as a monopoly, as if everything that they're considering is, so level-headed that it encompasses what the definition of the left might entail. Anyway, here I am critiquing. God, why am I being a little bit? I don't know. Why am I doing it? Well, because these guys are on the left. I was doing the Crowder videos, the anti-Stefan videos. Now here we go. Here we stand.
Critiquing the left is helpful in any way.
I switch my volume aside.
That we're facing from Trump or whoever. So I do feel like even in your day-to-day embodied non-online world, you were describing the sense of a conflict or a scrambling of the sense-making capacity with people that you should be able to level with. Right. So what's that all about? That's happening too, right?
That's a good question.
Well, I think it's there's feedback loops where those online social interactions are migrating back into how we read our personal interactions. And I think I'll just double down on what I said originally, is that most of the time when you're having sort of these kind of unnecessary conflicts with the friends and
also have people who, anytime a name like Jordan Peterson is raised, all they know is one article from the New York Times and the phrase enforced monogamy. And so all they understand what they believe they understand is that he believes women should be forced to marry young men so that they're not violent. So that, you can't separate that per se from like what they're taking in media-wise. But I know like that's a meta narrative. That's an overarching theme of our conversation together that transcends Peterson, which is for me still trying to understand and unpack where I am in all this and where I am in this moment. What are my actions? How do I participate in politics right now?
Right.
In the world, and for me, getting into some of this stuff has really brought up more questions than answers, really. And whenever I kind of speak out loud those questions or push back or name some of the shadows and
Okay, my opinion about people in politics, yeah, you can raise a big stink and you can break some shit and you can fight civilly, but if you're not a lawmaker or you're not somebody that's enforcing the policy like police or prosecutors or the lawmakers, then all you're doing is perpetuating to the extent that your voice aligns with the listener's ears. So the mere fact that people want to be political, but they're not willing to do it within the system and actually like settle themselves into political positions, as mayors of cities or councilors or whatnot, you don't have any clout other than just merely the next, idea that rips through someone's head if they hear it, and maybe you're upset because you'll feel obsolete. Like I'm not suspecting this video will probably hit 27 people maybe, and maybe they'll listen to 9 minutes of it, and what are they going to get from fucking me, right? Like this is for my own amusement almost, and for maybe someone will like later on it'll be hugely impactful, but more than likely not. It's kind of a jack off session on my part because I'm here like poo-pooing on the PhDs because they're, I don't even know if these other two guys are. Anyway, I don't know who this guy is in the background. He's one of these two, Jesse or Adam. But I don't mind his dialogue so far. Okay, back to business. Boy, I really wish I was contributing something with substance here.
Shortcomings of some of the positions and ideologies on the left, right? Had some real stiff, really strong reactions,
Right.
And it's disheartening, it's alarming, it's confusing.
Well, I think, I don't know, maybe if you want to say something more about this, but for you, it's kind of more consequential just because of some of the positions that you're in, which means that you're engaged in people who are more, sort of financially and career-wise and just historically committed to a lot of the efforts of the Democratic Party, the left in general, progressive politics. So I don't know. I still think it's valuable for other people listening to hear your experience and me knowing you and knowing where your intentions lie in terms of progressive initiatives and the general aims of a left-oriented society to be struggling through these issues. Like I think it's important for people to hear that, just because of some of the positions that you're in, right?
I don't know what positions this guy's in.
People listening will not know about, but right, you should say something about those things.
Sure, happy to. I mean, I've been raised in a family where we do philanthropy based on social justice work. I've been involved in personal.
He was raised in a family that did philanthropy for social justice work. I mean, social justice, even the term isn't shit more than, as far as I know, more than a few years old, like maybe a decade max, maybe 4 years. That was what I believe. Max 4 years. Beyond what I'm thinking, max. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, I don't know what this guy's into. I don't know his background, so. But to be saying I'm raised in a family, what, this guy's in his mid-fucking-20s easily.
I work in a couple of California state prisons doing violence prevention, mindfulness-based violence prevention work, but very much through a lens of gender justice, racial justice, understanding forms of oppression and systems of privilege that operate on systemic levels, both learning a lot of this through my education, but also through my family culture, and really beautiful, amazing people I've been learning from who really want to do good in the world, who want to bring justice, who want to fight oppression and tyranny and corruption and evil, and help people who have been marginalized and oppressed. So I still hold all those values. We kind of talked about this last.
Okay, so this whole the modern leftist movement. I mean, back in '92, I'm taking a class in college, a women's study class, which I failed because I took roller skates in, and because they asked me to, the lesson for the class of about, there's probably 120 people in the class was, now find a magazine article that is obviously sexist, cut it out, and present it along with your paper as to why it is. And I found a woman sitting at a bar next to a chimpanzee, and they were both drinking, and it was like a Bacardi ad. And I said, well, obviously the man is being depicted as an ape, and that this, it's very demeaning to men. And so since this is a woman's studies course that I was in, right, like they didn't appreciate that, and then I ended up failing, and then I ended up making a mockery out of it. And then the professor said, you're failing, and even if you were scoring a B minus, which I actually was, as far as what my work was there, still failing. But to listen to this guy talk about the idea of structure and oppression, structural oppression, institutional oppression, I don't mind hearing it. I don't mind conceiving it. I don't mind empathizing with it and getting behind it. I just know that it is in itself a paradigm that can be let go of. That it is both the case if one sees it as such mentally, and it's not the case in another case. And so to hear these reiterative points and to know that Matt and whoever this other guy is are in positions of some sort where they have to toe the line, right? That means that they have to put on a performance to toe the line for all of their listeners. They can't deviate from it, right? And so they have to align with it. And that's funny. It's funny shit. And there's plenty of, we haven't reached a fever pitch level. There's so many, SJWs versus logic, XJW cringe, SJW this, trying to make fun of the left, and then there's leftic cucks. They're trying to show, just human expression, which I'm all for, in all of its manifestations, and saying, oh, well, this odd or queer or out there expression is substantial and should be expressed. I'm for that also. Mind drag queens.
None of those values have changed for me. I'm just trying to make sense of listening to other perspectives, and those other perspectives, I keep nodding my head and saying those also make sense. I can understand different ways of looking at some of these
my own
issues.
art.
And what then alarms me is by me even thinking out loud or exploring some of these other perspectives, there's such a strong reactivity towards that. And it dovetails into many other themes, one of which is postmodernity, in which when we lose universal truths, when we lose our relationship to more meta-level truths, everything can become more relativized. And my sense, having been listening and reading a lot about these things, is that on the left, certain of these themes, like equity and justice and equality, become religious. Sure, yeah. I mean, so the sense is that these themes become
Let me get a selfie with the man bun.
And charged with the Newman. I mean, and so questioning any of it can be questioning some central tenet or dogma of any religion.
This came up in our Rebel Wisdom conversation, is the way that on the left, because in general there's a lack of religious orientation, that politics ends up filling in the vacuum left by the absence of religion. And there's this religious commitment to a certain set of political ideologies, and this desire, in a sense, for a kind of utopian society to be realized that might be disconnected from where things actually are. Lights go down. Keep going.
Talk about the dark web.
We're too hot.
They even laughed at my
And so
joke.
that people on the left side of the spectrum end up with this surrogate form of religion. And politics should not be a surrogate religion, because this world is messy and difficult and imperfect. And at its best, religion helps orient us in this world and keep us motivated to improve this world, despite the fact that we know this world will never be
just okay, the idea that the left is feeling a religious gap and that they're becoming a religion of themselves, I like that idea. Like, I don't believe that the left as group identity qualifies as, or the modern left as, a religious filler, but they do act not dissimilar to religious groups. Hey, let's get together and chant. Let's, bitch and moan and hold protests and basically hold our line of conviction. It's not like a religion. I don't know, and this whole idea of what's with good intent, like meaning I have goodwill towards the world, and so like my intent is it's honorable, it's good, right? It's not bad. I'm not meaning harm for anyone. I have an optimistic hope for people, and I wish them well, but I'm going to call that good intent.
But let's say, at least equality of opportunity. Most people, even Peterson, would agree that equality of opportunity would be a great thing. The challenge is, how do you get there from where we are now without appointing some government committee to make decisions about who needs to have things stolen from them to be redistributed to someone else? And it's like, how do you know you're not causing more harm and doing more evil to get to the good place than just leaving things as they are?
And it begs the question of, well, it's also like, it's not so much the what. The what, I think a lot of us can agree on. I know I do. It's about equality of opportunity. There's real themes of justice. It's more of the how. How is this stuff done? And I was talking to a friend recently, and they were pushing back, and there's such a constant refocusing on privilege and power, and I totally get that. I guess it's kind of like the values are so right on. How could you be against justice? How could you be against that? But it's some metaphor, like the image I keep in my mind is it's like vegans. It's like I eat meat. When I hear vegans talk sometimes, I'm like, okay, they might be right. We might look back in 50 years or 100 years and say, holy shit, people were, this was like a genocidal concentration camp situation with animals, and people were just eating meat left and right, and it's how horrible. So sometimes I'm like, okay, you have a good point. I feel bad if I'm not eating clean meat. But it's like, there can be vegans who are really humble and really heartfelt and just living their values, and there can be vegans who are shouting and screaming at you, and if they're coming at you with a lot of anger, a lot of judgment, telling you how you should be doing it differently, that you should stop eating this and you should do that, the fundamental energy dynamics is going to just shut people down, make people defensive and angry. So a lot of times the values can be there, but it's how are people speaking about it? What are their strategies for trying to change hearts and minds to align for really important desires like equality and justice?
It makes me think of some criticisms directed at me in the comments in our...
Like, I don't mind the idea of being vegetarian. This guy's a carnivore. I don't mind people having discussions about it. I would freak out if people were yelling. I don't mind them yelling about it. I don't know. So I don't mind the analysis of how it is that, what is the strategy that the individual wants in order to see the world that they would like to see come about.
Original podcast that Nervous did, the Rebel Wisdom podcast, where I was saying things about Trump that were at least borderline denying his humanity, and it made me reflect a lot about, if I were to imagine the way out of our current political crisis, it would require of every one of us, including myself, that we stop dehumanizing one another. And we'll be over here for a minute. I am trying to shift out of this place of saying things, posturing in a way that makes me feel better about myself, because I'm not whatever, racist, bigoted, white supremacist, whatever. And that tendency to other, it comes so naturally to us as tribal animals. And just to stop and say, well, even Donald Trump is a human being and he's suffering. And as societies, as groups of human beings, we're trying, the whole point of politics is to try to find a way to suffer less together. And the guiding moral, the guiding principle should be compassion. And religion should be serving the role of helping us to become more compassionate people. Politics is a power game, and without that religious dimension, where do we find the resources to become more compassionate people and to see the humanity in someone, even when ideologically speaking, in terms of whether it's the end we're seeking or the means we're seeking to get there, if we disagree about that, how do we still see them as a human being? compassion and try to move forward without dehumanizing them, because we're getting to a place where politics ends and war begins. I don't see how much further we can push politics before it becomes war.
What do you mean? Like in this country?
Yeah. The polarization is getting to a point where
So the idea that Matt believes that things should be a matter of compassion and maybe other people speak dispassionately or behave discompassionately. I mean, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree that compassion is generally the overarching theme, but within that, you could play with knives, and I mean, people obviously are. So the idea that, well, we want to be compassionate towards Trump, or I don't know, like the conclusion of what Matt feels like things should be. I don't know. I mean, this whole new generation of softies. I mean, people just didn't. You guys just. You didn't. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe there. I don't know. Maybe there needs to be more fights, physical fights.
structures of political power that have been in place for several hundred years are just not working. They're completely ineffective. The branches of government and their delineated powers and the way that they were supposed to check each other, it's all being completely dismantled and scrambled.
So this is another one of those places where I worry that the impression that people have of one another online is so greatly exaggerated and is trumping their regular interactions with people in terms of how they evaluate what the general state of things
But if it is exaggerated, everybody's online, so everyone's living in that exaggerated
Absolutely,
state.
and that's why, I know people who aren't online, they don't engage in social media.
Guys, let me
They
speak.
go down this road, and you can just kind of see them shut off, like, well, this is stupid, like, why don't you just log off? It's like, I get that, but the fact of the matter is that most people aren't doing that, so we need to deal with this, we need to have some kind of conversation about it, we need to understand how to mediate not just the online interactions, but we need to be able to mediate and understand more precisely what the relationship is between the online interactions and the offline ones.
Right.
And because I really don't see, I just don't feel like if we drove across the United States right now, we would get the sense that we're about to erupt into actual violence.
But if you drive across the country, you might not get the sense we're about to erupt into actual violence. But if you looked online, if you looked on Twitter, if you looked on anywhere online, it does feel that way. Right. And I feel like everyone's so plugged in online that could just start literal violence because everyone's going to be tweeting and like having conversations online.
Yeah, see, I don't mind what they're saying now. Here, I came on to critique them, and now I enjoy it. What happened in the convert?
Why it's a shitty
I
experience
love
to have
you
like
guys.
thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people like bombarding your mentions with shitty.
I mean, and Joe Rogan mentioned Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks saying something like, yeah, on the news they're talking about war and famine and all this shit, and I walk outside and there's birds and butterflies and kids singing and everything's fine. And I mean, that's all these guys are saying. I mean, people can be over-bloviated in the meta, right? The online is the meta. It's the simulation of one's thoughts. And now they're saying and that can bleed into the real world, which obviously it can in terms of people's behavior. But I mean, the internet is still the simulation in the simulacron.
You hate messages because the outrage machine captured you today. I get that that's a shitty, traumatizing feeling, but it's not the same as like actual violence in the streets, and I feel like all of that.
But there has been actual violence in the streets.
Sure, I'm not saying
at a heightened level. It's not yet boiled over into.
Yeah, so you're saying that you think that these are like precursors to some larger, more organized conflict.
It's at the point where if you carry an American flag through a march, you're likely to get beat by Antifa, or if you carry Soviet Union flag, you're likely to get beat by the Proud Boys or whatever. So there are street fights.
Sure.
We happen to live in the Bay Area, where at Berkeley, because of the history of the free speech movement, these rallies are occurring, and some of the most intense street fights are happening. But they're also happening in Oregon. They're happening in Charlottesville. Obviously, they're happening around the country. And
the Charlottesville example is like obviously.
I really liked. I think it was Bill Burr. He said, "Yeah, just because people live by an ocean, they think that their political views are right. They just think that they're right because hey, there's a limit. I'm by the ocean, so I'm right."
A really gratuitous case of unacceptable.
There's so much simmering under the surface. All it would take was not that big of some incident. All it would take is some big rally and something to happen where you pick a theme, but something, it just feels like it wouldn't take that much to light something, and there's so much feeling under the surface of rage, of anger on both sides, distrust. I think it's a tinderbox. I agree with you, Matt. I think the polarization is extraordinary.
I just wish that there was more recordings going on back in my day in college, because things were so much more fucking fun, and the conversation was more outlandish and out there. It's not like it wasn't just, Star Trek and Henry Rollins and Ozzy Osbourne, but shit seemed more real in person and in a way more creative. These guys are all just running. I mean, so many people are just like they're towing the lines of talking points, right? Like this idea of equal opportunity, not equal outcome, right? Just the phrase equal opportunity, right? That is reiterated so many times that it seems as if it's like a political divide. Like there's so many other things that innovators that are not towing these lines could import into dialogues and into politics by trying to retool what it is that we have and utilize all the new tech and to get to a greater, more ideal situation. Even though, there is a sense of oppression in terms of like, hey, you have to use money, and if you're going to drive anywhere, you're probably going to use fossil fuels, and you're going to eat, and so there's a lot of meat and a lot of ingredients and a lot of shit, just daily life shit that you're caught up in that is hard. It's hard for a lot of people to get around, but to adhere to all of the talking points as if these talking points are tantamount, that's what I think is, I don't know. It's unrefreshing, right? Because it's like, okay, now they're laying down what the lines are, and then these guys being on the left are trying to talk about it. People on the right are trying to talk about it. But if they just changed the terms, right? Like, so it goes from equal opportunity to something like, well, black kids are raised in inner cities with single moms, and so they're have less opportunity, and we want equal opportunity. Like, I don't mind the sentiment, but the analysis of everything that is about somebody's life in the raising is not just tantamount to equal opportunity, right? Like, I went to a state college, not like an Ivy League college or some private university, right? So, it's like the expression of what your environment tells you is possible, what your family encourages you to do, what kind of family. Like the nuance is so steeped that to sum it up, like, hey, we want everyone to have the same opportunity, right? It's an impossibility. Even the fact that the left is agreeing for these guys are. I mean, no offense, Matt, when you see this, and I'm probably pretty sure you will. But this idea that you've divided everything up, like where your vision coheres about the subject, where you do align with the talking points, it's kind of, I mean, it's youthful. I think it's naive for your PhD. You're still naive on this. I mean, you've cut up a lot of other things, a lot of other issues that have helped you develop a more robust notion of how philosophy and humanity and consideration can unfold and be talked about. But then when it comes to these points, you just, if it's said, let's talk about it and let's align with that concept, and then talk about first you lay the line, and then you're talking about the position around it, your concerns around it, but move the it, divide up the it. Anyway, back to these guys. Here we go. Sorry.
My question, I want to step back to what you said earlier, because I'm genuinely curious about this. You know, like this idea of having compassion for Donald Trump. I can get behind that. I see clients as a therapist. I work in the prison system. I understand how personality disorders can work. I understand that if you're a child and you're raised a certain way, you can live your life causing tremendous harm and be pathologically lying. I think Donald Trump is a buffoon, but also extraordinarily problematic on a lot of levels. But I also can see him as a human and want to have compassion, and also some of the things he says might actually be true, even though he says a lot of things that are not or I disagree with. But I'm curious that some people will talk about like Hitler. And they'd say, okay, so if you were in Germany in the 30s, would you want to have compassion for Hitler? And, people often on the left will make that distinction, like, when do we have compassion and understanding?
Yeah.
But then when are we going to get trampled on by some primordial force out of naivete?
I would say sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do for somebody is kill them. So just to make clear, I'm not a pacifist when I say that.
Right.
But in the case of, putting Trump to the side, the 60-some odd million people that voted for Trump, even if Hillary won the popular vote, whatever, in Russia, maybe he swayed. Let's give the benefit of the doubt to the left conspiracy theorists who think Russia had a major impact and say like 500,000 or a million people were swayed in their vote. So whatever, Trump still got 60-something million votes.
Yep.
For those people, why is it that they felt like they needed to throw a grenade into the center of the United States federal government? I think a lot of them were tired of the standard Republican, standard Democrat talking points, the narrow range of the debate, and just the way that there was a way of operating in Washington that wasn't serving common people. And these are people who were in towns that used to be manufacturing centers, and globalization moved those jobs overseas, and they were bitter and angry, and politics as usual wasn't speaking to them. Politicians in Washington didn't give a fuck about them. And Donald Trump talks to them. It was just talk, obviously. He hasn't actually helped them. But I get why they were upset and why they thought someone like Trump would give expression to their anger.
Well, do you get it,
So
Matt? Tell us why you get it.
And
Why?
I don't
Why
even
do you
know,
get
in
it?
terms of Trump, I don't think he actually
People
wanted to
want
become
more
president.
and they're
I
not
don't think he
getting it?
expected to become president. I thought he would
People
do a lot
want
of free
better and
his
they're not
motivation
getting it?
initially in running was he did a lot of free advertising, or his Trumpet brand. He didn't think he was going to win. And at some point during the primaries, he was like, oh my god, I actually have to do this. And at first, I don't think he wanted to. And now he's in this position, and he's not the type of guy that wants to be known as a loser, someone who failed. So he's trying to be the best president ever, And unfortunately, I agree, he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm not saying I can do a better job, but like on 9/11, when he's going to give a speech commemorating this tragedy, he's like fist pumping, like, yeah, America.
This guy has zero sentimentality.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what are you?
I'm just going to throw this out, right? Like, maybe George Bush Jr. knew a little bit more about what was going on because his dad was president, so he had some sort of inside scoop. Maybe Hillary would have known more of what was going on because of Bill. But for the most part, every president doesn't know what's going on, and it takes them a while to get their footing, right? Like, the position itself is hugely different than they expected, and I believe this is for every single president. And the information that they're given that the public isn't given, that's huge. It's got to be a huge weight. I'm just saying that this idea that there's some ideal candidate that isn't going to be informed of the powers that be that run this world, and as George Carlin says, that there's a club and you're not in it, and that the rest of us who are not in that club are the suckers. We're the slaves, or we're fucked, or we're the pawns. And so this idea of what human freedom is, or human flourishing is still generally within the confines of the legal structure, the deontologic rule structures, or the actual policies. And so this, I don't know, just the way these guys are framing it, it's interesting. But we'll see. It's interesting.
So in this moment when everyone around him is beginning to turn on him, imagine how afraid he feels. What concerns me is that he's in such a vulnerable place. It's like when you back an animal into a corner and they get scared, what do they do? Like,
Do you think he's backed into a corner?
I don't know. I mean, all I know is what the New York Times and the Washington Post tell me, right? So,
Yeah. What do you think of the anonymous op-ed?
I think that it's strange that for the last 2 or 3 weeks since it came out, every time I log into Twitter, there's this tweet at the top from the New York Times that says, do you have questions about the anonymous op-ed in the New York Times?
Yeah.
Tweet at this guy and he'll give you all the answers. It's
Is that like a promoted?
It's been at the top of my feed every single time.
And what do you make of that? You're making something of it, so what do you make?
What I'm making of that is that I've been pegged as the type of user who tends to like liberal left content, and that I'm susceptible to really playing out and milking this particular op-ed as far as it will go.
I thought it was a really weird piece. I thought it was.
It's more damning of the Republican Party than it is of Trump. I'll say that.
That's On the one hand, I thought the person who wrote that is kind of spineless. And if you actually had this assessment and you actually had this knowledge that it's that bad, this person is that unstable, then you have an obligation to do something about it, just as a human. But I also think that it seemed calculated in a way where
Republicans are kind of inoculating themselves against potential fallout from Trump being their candidate. And so they have this, they're like planting evidence in advance to say, no, he was never really a Republican. We were fighting from the inside.
Okay, well that, like I like that what he's saying is as far as the fallout and how the Republicans are dealing with it. But you guys, the idea of tapping into Facebook memes, social media, or Twitter, like the internet prior to social media, for the few years that it was, the 7-ish years roughly, before social media kind of like started to really get its teeth embedded in the public. It was more Wild West. It was more random. Now, it's not only there, but there's science, so to speak, to what it is they're doing in terms of the algorithms and the feeds, and then the politics, to assume that the social media companies are not in bed with government, and that the science of how to change people's minds or influence people is not being, propagated, is simply naive. And so I do like the idea of the disjunctive separating oneself off of social media. Because there's so many avenues of knowledge that are online that have nothing to do with social media. Very little to do with social media. And it's an investigation. It's investigatory. Can I say investigatory? I better lay back. Okay, here we go. And then I gotta cut this off. Damn, I'm going long. Maybe an hour? Is this an hour already? Speed it up. Make certain you speed my video up. Hopefully you guys can hear this, or what a waste, right?
The whole time continue to vote Republican. Trump doesn't represent us. Meanwhile, while he's in power, they're happy to take advantage of that situation. I think it's spineless in either direction. I was deeply unimpressed by whoever wrote that.
Me too. And I've heard that using some kind of sophisticated linguistic analysis, that there's a very high probability that it was Mike Pence. I don't know whose analysis this was, but I think it was like the BBC or something.
Remember to like my video and subscribe, because I think I'm losing subscribers.
Somebody else write it for them.
I knew someone was going to have to piss.
I feel like at that level of, kind of covering your tracks, if you or I can come up with a way to throw people off the trail, then people in the White House can definitely think of better ways to do that. Maybe not. Maybe they're really idiots, but I don't know. Yeah, I doubt it was Mike Pence, is what I'm saying.
And the truth of the matter is, I think I'd be more frightened of Mike Pence as president, because he actually has a coherent worldview and a set of principles that are Christo-fascist, and someone who has like an attention span and is able to stay focused on an agenda with an ideology like Mike Pence's is way more frightening to me than Donald Trump.
People often say that. I've had a hard time. Sometimes something in me is just like, I don't know what it is, that might just feel, maybe I'd be wrong to feel more comfortable with someone like Mike Pence. Some kind of just basic coherency and stability. Something about the unpredictability of Trump that no one knows what's about to come out of his mouth. It makes it entertaining. But I also wouldn't trust him to not just, there could be a really tense political moment with the foreign power in our own country.
Yeah,
we just throw a firebomb in the middle and just explode something really without him checking it with anybody.
Yeah. So you're saying that Pence makes you feel more secure or less secure?
I guess what I'm saying is I'm not convinced that Pence would be worse than Trump. A lot of people say that he would be.
See, and I don't want you guys to get me wrong. Like, some of their talking points and the way they're talking, it sounds reasonable, it sounds fine. Some of their considerations, why not? I don't know. Like I said, I hadn't heard this before. I just clicked the go button and thought, maybe there's something here, because Matt's got his ways about him, and so he's probably dialoguing with people that have non-dissimilar ways.
Maybe what you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like it's the devil that you know versus the devil you don't.
Yeah. I guess it feels to me like I was talking to somebody and they were saying, I don't think Trump is like the Nazi, the Hitler that everyone's scared of, but that he's punching holes in our institutions, in our democracy. And once those holes are punched in, it's not clear they can be repaired, and that whatever comes next or could come through those holes is what's really scary.
Well, that's what Matt was saying. I listened to part of your podcast with Jeremy Johnson, the Mutations podcast. And you said the same thing, where even if there are, I don't know, maybe you already think there have been several major crises, but let's just say there's no sort of world-wrecking crisis that Trump presides over or causes or whatever. The next president, we can't go back to just presidents as normal. Like, we can't have Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, George W.
Like the office of the president.
You can't. It's it's been whatever that is. He tore a hole through that
He's
force field. I don't know if he's tore a hole through the system of government. Gaining appreciation for the system of checks and balances put in place. But we'll find out. But he definitely has sort of destroyed whatever the image of the president was prior to him.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's absolutely true. It's so hard for me to imagine.
I think that's absolutely naive.
Even if Democrats
In
get
these
someone in
cases,
2020, it's like,
that.
I have real concerns about the state of our democracy. I watched a podcast, John David Ebert, and they were talking about Oswald Spengler's views on Oswald Spengler, Decline of the West, and in that book, as far as I can tell, Spengler kind of brought together this idea of the rise and fall of civilizations along with Goethe's morphology of plants. So there's he's looking at civilizations along these kind of organic lines of development, both the rise and the decay, and he really tracks, John David Ebert tracks our country and the state of our democracy to a very specific time in ancient Rome, somewhere in the 3rd century very specifically, where apparently a Trump-like figure, I don't remember his name, first rose of power, and then there was Caesar, and there was just these number of folks raising privatized armies, marching onto Rome, and were attempting to gain control, which basically very quickly the beginning and the end. But what I thought was interesting too was John David Ebert talked about the immune system of a culture, for him being the metaphysics. So when there's coherent metaphysics operating and holding everything, things I guess can kind of run smoothly. But once that dissolved and cracked, and I guess today, post-modernity and whatnot, it just starts to slowly unravel. Right? He thinks that.
So this whole notion of the postmodern or postmodernity, right? Like, okay, these few authors are meaning the whole idea that Foucault and Derrida single-handedly or double-handedly influenced everything that we're having now is a complete fucking whitewash of all of the other pressures and all the other things and human thoughts and human movements and human influences. That the idea of saying, postmodern, like in art, Cezanne in 1873 maybe, or 1890, he's considered the modern, right? And then to say the postmodernists from the 60s to the 90s, I mean, I hate the fact that the word postmodern is being thrown about like some sort of linchpin or keystone or some sort of fucking center block that everybody else is rotating their thoughts around, right? When to say that all of the other people attempting to acquire power or the other people vying for influence, I mean, humanity is made up of more than just these two fucking authors, right? And then Jordan B. Peterson's necessary tie, the attempt to, and then there's plenty of other people that can attest or agree with this, to say that Derrida's influences were based necessarily off of Marx. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, he wrote a book on it, and yet at the same time, to read what it is Derrida wrote or what it is Foucault wrote, and to assume that necessarily postmodernism is an equation with identity politics or communism per se, I mean, that's my criticism of Peterson. But hey, this video is about them. It's not about me. I'm your host this evening, so let's get back to this. But I'm probably only going to go, fucking hour 5, maybe max. This is overkill, right?
That's why he thinks we're in a place now where we're prone to a viral infection, and our immune system is extraordinarily compromised and weakened, and there's not much holding and propping it up.
Right. Right. I mean, as much as I think we all agree on the values of, diversity and inclusivity, and we want to be as welcoming to difference as we can, there's a way in which, in the postmodern context, these values, like diversity, are not adequately defined or concretely enough defined so that they can be operationalized in a way that makes sense to people. Like the idea of diversity as an end in itself, diversity as a good across the board, always and forever, is completely irrational.
Okay, so I maybe I'll sum up with this, and it could be a good point, right? Is the idea of diversity, right? And all of a sudden, I'm thinking of women in burqas, like many women in burqas that are figuring out what their particular differences are. If Islamic women were to figure out their differences publicly online, instead of this idea of assuming or seeing them as part of a collective or as a group. That would be interesting. It would be really interesting to hear women of the same Burqa religion hash it out. The idea of diversity as being a strength. Like I agree with Matt that the diversity concept is not articulated. It's not spoken of to grant like a solid penetrating force to throw against the more discrete and well put notions that the right has in terms of criticism of the left, right? And I'm not saying that there's not difference. I believe that there's difference between everybody, absolutely everybody. And so diversity is strength, but diversity of groups and the discrete outline that social media is stamping like cookie cutters amongst groups, and then to idealize the idea of forced diversity, how to put it, a coagulation, as how to enumerate diversity, right? It's like it's more of a talking point, the idea of diversity. Like it's already a given, right? I mean, if you look on the right and you're looking at a Molyneux or the Crowder or the Shapiro or something, you're going to find differences amongst everybody, right? And so if diversity is in fact the strength, then opposition within the diversity needs to make sense instead of categorizing the sense of similarity. Even the term the dark web is trying to unify what they're saying is the right's unchecked verbalization of political critique being offset than this overwhelming acceptance of I guess populations. And you know, it is really weird for these guys to talk about to say, oh, Trump's, you know, he's changed the way the presidency is forever and there's never been anyone like this. I would say, well, no, if you guys actually studied certain presidents, you'd find that some people were radical populists. Naming off the top of my head, damn, I did know at one point. Anyway, and that based on the media at the time when certain presidents came in, for some reason I'm thinking of Buchanan, right? You know, it might not be that. It's not necessarily McKinley. Like every single president itself is different, and some of them caused some real huge tidal waves amongst the American population. It's just that the media was slower, like Pony Express and delivery and print and anyway, the communication was obviously different. So the instantaneousness of the communication, there is this weird coalescing. It's the thing I find interesting is that I think what's really interesting first is that people believe that they are actually making a play or a wave in other people's minds, right? Like I'll defame this video, like, hey, this is not going to move a population significantly, and yet it might strike an individual mind, and it's still the individuals that are carving themselves out, that produce the work that they produce, that promulgate and have affect in future people's minds. So I don't know. I think I disagree with the way a lot of things are framed, and I really do think that the political and the media standards has framed the dialogue, and that these guys are still towing the line of the dialogue. There are some break-off points. There are, you know, traveling out on their lifeboats from the ship of whatever the tangent is off the topic, but it's I don't know. I mean, what the fuck? Here I am, like fucking rambling a criticism against these guys. And they know they're all of good intent, and they're just trying to change the world, man. And yet these two front dudes, they can't cross a certain line. But they're trying to be considerate. They're trying to extend an olive branch. So anyway, I'm over rambling. I think I should shut the video down and play it just one more time. Finish this and see what I have to say.
And this gets pointed out by people on the right, the Stefan Molyneuxs of the world and the Jordan Petersons of the world, and they make fun of how ideological a value like diversity is pushed by the left. Because without this coherent metaphysic underlying it, when you're asked, well, what do you mean by diversity, and how does it apply in this specific situation, like you want to be inclusive of a religion like Islam, and yet for the vast majority of practitioners of Islam, something like feminism or gay marriage is not only not a good idea, those people need to be killed. Right. So how do you
that's a kind of diversity that you don't want to accept. Right. And that's kind of that. But that's when we were talking with Joe Norman, several weeks ago. That was very much my question to him, because I think he has some very smart things to say about small scale, local decentralization, the inherent fragility in over centralized systems, and all those kinds of things. But my question to him was, doesn't that push in kind of the same direction that you're saying? Is that because not every local form of culture and organization should be allowed, and that's why there are state governments, but there's like a federal guarantee, there's a constitutional guarantee. At least we attempt to have that arrangement where you can't just decide that your township is going to institute a new instance of apartheid, and like we're going to accept that as well. People are different, and this is just one of the differences that people have. So there needs to be like a value system, a hierarchy placed amongst different value systems.
Well, this is where I think spiral dynamics in this scheme of
I'm never going to not die inside when people say that.
Well, but here's the thing, like in terms of a constitutional government that protects certain rights, there's a way in which in the United States and those Western democracies, the level of orange development that enshrines individual rights as just a baseline that you can't infringe upon.
Right. What is that? Is that humanism? Basic humanism?
Basic humanism.
Universal humanism.
Yeah. At the individual level, right? Green, the next structure of consciousness is more collective, but it seems like in the United States, Britain, and Europe, in any modern democracy, there's this baseline of you protect individual human rights.
Yeah.
You can't infringe upon those rights. And the role of government is to protect those rights.
Yeah.
As long as those rights are protected in a more liberal context or libertarian context, you can do what you want. You just can't infringe upon people's basic rights to life, liberty, and property.
Yeah.
For some of those to be
All right.
extended to
Well,
women. Property, for
with that,
example,
guys, I'm just going to close down. I'm certain it's a great thing. You guys can see all the details there if you want to search it and watch the rest of this, right?
I do, and I just kind of let it go. I just kind of like, yeah, okay, well, you're on some kind of autopilot right now. Like, I'm not talking to a person that's just engaging with me. I'm talking to like an algorithm. Like something's already preset. Like this conversation already has a direction for that person, and they don't know me. So like, how do you already know all of that stuff about me? Right. It's not maybe some kind of intuitive mastermind.
And you remember, guys, I'm older. They're younger. You're not going to escape it. One day you'll be older. It's a temporary thing. I'm not saying I'm more sophisticated. I'm just saying they haven't mentioned anything that I haven't heard about. And maybe I shouldn't say that too, right? Because I can divide that up and say, well, obviously the way they're saying it is some way I've never heard about it before. So, I don't know. I'm not trying to be presumptuous or high-end on this. I'm just a civil, another guy, YouTuber, doing my thing, trying to have a beer with these guys while they're drinking their warm beer. He seemed to finish it. Matt, your beer's still warm. You're going an hour and 20 minutes in. I don't think Matt's drinking enough. Maybe his wife won't approve. Okay, so let's shut down shop. We'll see what this looks like, eh? Quit, yes, quit. Budding, dink, 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 dink. I'll put Matt video. There's my old laptop here. After my Ukraine stolen computer, this old laptop can even carry this much. It's amazing. It's amazing, this technology. Oh my god, oh my goodness. But in any case, I am glad that people are having discussions, and I'm glad that I have access to this discussion. And even when I'm done and I'm uploading this, I'm probably going to rewind it and then click down here below, right, to whatever this other link was and see what it is that Matt was saying. I like to stay abreast of certain things that the old guard See, because Matt was this little young piddly pie, and he was catching a lot of shit from this modern mystic about, oh, you don't want to get your PhD, blah, blah, blah. And then he went and he got his PhD, and now he's moderating, he's cut off the bullshit, whatever. I'm part of the bullshit, right? And he's not going to tolerate it because it's going to be his way, and it's fine. And he's not going to take the modern mystics bullshit or anyone else's bullshit. And he's going to deal with the people he wants. And he's going to put it together. And he's going to believe that he's interacting with the most considerable individuals. They have the most considerable things and insightful things to say. It's a little pious. It's a little high-ended, but anyway. I didn't know my head looked this fat. Why didn't you tell me my